to me. You all are mute, but I can see all of you.
Buonasera, buonasera, everyone. I am so excited to present the guest tonight, Alberto Toso, one of my favorite Venetians. And we only met in February this year. We had a coffee with Alberto in Cafe Florian, and I thought we have to do something together. And for me, it was thinking, let's do something together in person. But actually, now it turned out to be that our year changed so much. So, Alberto, would you tell us a little bit about you and how did you start collecting stories? I have your wonderful book on the Grand Canal here, and every page is filled with incredible stories, incredible legends. Many of them I never read before. So tell us a little bit about how this came to be, and how do you pick up your stories? Where do you do your research?
Everything is started from a long time, from the time I was a child, for real. I am originally from Murano Island. I'm coming from an ancient family of glassmasters. I'm not. I'm probably the first, of my family with my brother who didn't work on, the glass. But anyway, when I was a child living in an island in the early 70s, I was accustomed to listen to old stories, legends coming from old people, and to me it was so normal. I was accustomed to hear stories. How special it was, I discovered later in my life. When I was at the university and I studied the history of Venice, I simply realized that the bigger part of those beautiful stories that was still living in me were not written anywhere, and no one was told them, and so they really risked to be lost forever. And so I start to collect them really one by one. At first, making a huge job inside me, inside my memory, and then interviewing old people and collect all these stories. They are so beautiful. I hope to transmit not only words tonight, but the emotion I feel every time I listen to them or I can speak about them. And just after this kind of strange collection, I made another simple discovery, because still today, because of the marvelous nature of Venice, we can give back every story to a place. And so what we will do tonight is for real, a kind of walk. We will start from one side of a town, get to another one, like we will walk all together. Hopefully, waiting the time, we will be able to do it really for real.
Yeah. Alberto, is it okay if people put maybe some questions for you in the chat so we can come back to the questions at the end?
Oh, okay. I hope to be able to answer.
Of course you would. I think I want to just add one more thing you didn't mention, which is, that you are the kind of the official beloved storyteller for the city of Venice. And this year for Carnevale, I was there, and you were, opening one of the Carnevale events. So you really are you have the pulse of the city of Venice with your stories. So I think that's such an incredible and fun job,
Yes, I don't know if this is good, really good for Venice, but for me it's good.
No, it's wonderful for Venice too. Okay, so will you take us on the tour?
Okay, let's go. Let me share my screen because I've got some picture to show you. Okay. While I will tell you something. These are picture I took myself last week. Mm-hmm. And okay, 1 second, share, voila. And first of all, I have to say that you have a problem, Paola didn't tell you, but I will not speak in English, as you probably noticed. But I'm speaking my English, and so you will listen to my English and not to English at all. This is one of the most incredible places in Venice. It's one of my favorite campo. Campo San Zanipoio. Zanipoio is a contraction of two names, Giovanni e Paolo, John and Paul. That's the dedication of a church, one of a two now Gothic church in Venice. And the whole zone is, of course, pretty ancient. You can see the Scuola Grande di San Marco. Now I'm going to explain what it is, but it is today the monumental entrance to the hospital and the monument to Bartolomeo Colleoni, made by un attimo.
Donatello?
No, Donatello. Verrocchio, Andrea del Verrocchio.
Infatti, certo.
Andrea del Verrocchio. So it's a beautiful place, where I love to stay. Anyway, let's go closely to the school. This is the great school of St. Mark's. This school in ancient time were not places where to learn or teach. They were places in which people were used to meet, especially people who made the same job, for example, or in the case of St. Mark and other 5 schools, the most rich merchant of the town, not noblemen. Only 6, they were schools were hundreds in town, and only 6 of them had the right to call themselves great, the great school of. Among the 6, this was the most important because it was dedicated to the protector of the town, San Marco. And this is a marvelous example of a Venetian Renaissance. Try to imagine, it was, the project is by Mauro Codussi, and it was made in 1499. So 1 year before the officially beginning of the Renaissance. Anyway, it's an incredible example of Venetian Renaissance architecture. You probably can notice on the facade, on the lower part of the lower side of the facade, those perspective games that now we are accustomed, to see to something similar. But at that time, it was something unknown, never seen before. We have letters of travelers of the time who describes, really the wonder in front of this facade. It was really a new at that time. To give literally their very hands to build this marble jewel was a young store carver, Cesco Pizzigani. Cesco was pretty young, but a good worker, and this was the first important job he get by him and all his workers, because he had also workers under him, and so tried to do his best, of course, and he got it at last, because this facade is one of the most beautiful, really beautiful monument you can see, you can admire in Venice. Everything seems to get better and better for this young man, but sometimes in life of women and men there is a but. But the illness of his beloved wife Fiorinda destroyed all his dreams. He involved all of himself, all his time, all his energy, all his money, trying to save the life of his wife, buying the most expensive medicine, calling the most important doctors. But at last, he lost everything. He lost Fiorinda because his wife died, and he lost his job because, of course, he made bankrupt. and he became dramatically and simply poor. And for a very sad twist of fate, sometimes fate, used to make to men, some jokes, and so he became poor and stand night and day at the very door of a great school of St. Mark's he himself contributed to build.
Wow.
At this moment of his life is 1501. He has only a kind of hobby, we can call it in this way, is to scratch with an old nail the shape of the ships who came in this zone of Venice for the trade exchange. And it is not rare for him to spend the night also, at the door of a school. And we are leaving him there because his story is going to cross the story of another young man. And the moment is one night in which Cesco is at the door of a Scuola Grande. This second man is a young man, he's a very young man. He is a Levantine. He's half Jewish, half Venetian. He's the son of a Jewish merchant. He lives with his father at the Giudecca Island. The ghetto is not existing in this moment of a history of Venice. It will be created in 15 years, as we will see later. At this time, at this moment, we think that all Jewish people is living at the Giudecca Island. That could also give his name, his dedication, a name to the presence of many Judei. This young man is going to dress like his father, like an international merchant, with a big turban in his hand, a long dress, and is not living so happily, because the fact he is half and half Venetian, half Jewish, make him not to be accepted by both community. And this young man is going to suffer a lot, of course, for this situation. And is trying to discharge all his rage, because he's full of suffering. This is full of rage against the only person who really care him, his mother. His mother live in this zone in San Zanipo, so very often the Levantine come here. And one night is the night we are speaking about. The rage of a Levantine became blind fullness, and he took the first object he can find in the kitchen. Is a knife, and he stabbed it so deeply in the chest of his mother that he can carve out the heart. He is horrified. He immediately understands that what he did is irremediable, and desperate and scared. He get out from the house of his mother, running and going to nowhere. He has only to run, and he get cross to San Zanipo and try to climb the bridge at the side of a school, but crying, in the tears, in the desperation, he tricks and falling down, leave everything he keeps in his hands. The heart rolled down the bridge, stop at the end of the bridge, and from the heart, a voice came over, my son, did you hurt you? Because that was the heart of a mother. The Levantine became completely full, reached the lagoon just behind this zone, sink himself and disappear forever. In Venice, we know that in the most frozen winter night, when you walk in Campo San Zanipo, you can hear a kind of a whisper, a light lament, And we say that that is the spirit of Levantine, that in the most frozen winter night get back to search for the only things who could really warm him, the heart of a mother. Cesco was there that night and decided to witness us what he saw. And still today, at the two sides of a door, of a huge door of Scuola Grande di San Marco, the today hospital, we have some beautiful, beautiful graffiti coming from the 16th century ships like this one, which is a Venetian ship. There is another one. You can probably see the backside and the place. I don't know how to say the tree, probably. And in the lower side there is a human figure who keeps a knife in one hand. He's dressing a long dress and a turban, and he's keeping a knife in one hand and a human heart in the other. And this is the Levantine, as we know in Venice. This door has also some treasures hidden, other treasures. This is getting in on the right side, at the height of your eyes. These two stars inscribed one in the other, 8-pointed stars. Put your finger on one side of a star and follow it with your finger, and you will notice that it's only one sign. If I ask you, or I ask myself to sketch an 8-pointed star, what I normally do is a kind of double butterfly, but I have to separate the two signs. This is one sign, and this is not, when you learn to do it, it's easy, but it is not easy. 8 is a good number for both Kabbalistical school, the Christian and the Jewish Kabbalah. Especially in that moment, just after the creation of the ghetto, the two Kabbalistic schools find some point of contact. For example, also for the construction of the Chiesa della Salute, that in few days will be the protagonist of one of the most known and filled feste veneziane related to plague. Anyway, 8 is a good number for both schools, because also in his Arabic shape is eternity. And sketch an 8-pointed star in an eternal way, without end, means eternity. This is Kabbalah applied to a Venetian stone. That is telling us something more. Look just after the date. You can read 1745, and then something that all of you use all today is a net. At is an ancient symbol, not born in Venice. It was born in Tuscany. In the early, not in the early, but in the Middle Age, in the 14th century. It was a sign used for merchant. It was a measurement. Amphora was his name. And Venetian took from Tuscany, and today we will say spam all over the world, because they use also, the first printed book in which this symbol appears is a Venetian book. And it means, I can make you an example, 100 ball of cotton at 10 ducati, $10.
The price.
Yeah, it's a symbol that get across the history, because also, for example, we have a letter of George Washington he's describing something very simple he bought, like pencils, you know, and he wrote 3 pencils at $0.25, something similar, you know. And so being an economic symbol, it is going to be printed also in the first typewriting machine, you know, but ancient, a big typewriting machine. And when the IBM built the first computer, the first personal computer was, I think, it was huge like a palace, but has a small keyboard, like, you know, and that keyboard was took exactly from the typewriter machine. And so that symbol, no more used, you know, passed really from the typewriting machine to the computer. Mrs. Roy Tomlinson, when really invented the email and had to find a symbol to put among the user and the account, didn't invent the symbol, but they of course, he had a lot of interview in which they asked him, you know, why you invented that symbol, that strange symbol, and he always said the truth. You know, I invented nothing, you know, on the keyboard that was that symbol that no one was using. And so I use it. But it's a symbol that the Renaissance letters of a Venetian merchant is full of at. And you will wonder how at there are in the Renaissance letters, because it's a symbol that was really very used at that time. And you can read also still on a Venetian stone. Let's move. It's a short walk because we get through the campo and we enter a small courtyard. It's not pretty small, but it's a beautiful courtyard. You can probably read the name, it's Corte Bressana. Bressana means that all the merchants coming from Brescia, so in the northern side of Italy, in Lombardy, alas, where now the COVID is beating hard, pretty close to Milan, were allowed to stay all together here. This is not a Venetian costume, but Venetians use it a lot to put all people of the same, coming from the same nations in the same place. The most evident example are the fondaci, il fondaco dei tedeschi, so of the German people, il fondaco dei turchi, of Turkish people. So whole palaces in which people coming from that place were allowed to stay. We were goods, giving help one each other and protection, standing together, and so on. In Venice, there were also the fondaco of Arabs, degli Arabi, and of Persians, dei Persiani, because Venetians doesn't used to put people in the same place because of religion, except the ghetto, but because of nationality. And in this place, in the early 19th century, a legend, a Venetian legend says that was living one of the last bell ringers of St. Mark's Bell Tower. He was a man, a very tall man, about 2 meters. I don't know how to say maybe Paola can help me on feet, but yeah, it's a lot of feet, yeah.
Yeah, he was quite tall. I will calculate.
Yeah, 6, 7, maybe between 7 and 8 feet, I think. And because of it, it was, of course, noticed by an old professor at
6.6 feet.
Yeah, he was a naturalist, has his own personal collection of fossils, of everything. And when he saw that man you know, a thought get inside him and decided to get to him one day, and telling him something like this, you know, you know, it's a lot of time. I'm looking at you, such a tall man, so handsome. And our bell ringer was also, you know, it was a compliment, uh, you know, the suspect get inside him when the professor start to told him, I have a proposal to do. And but the proposal was not the one the Beringer could imagine, because the professor told him, I want to buy your skeleton. And the Beringer said, what? You know, my skeleton? Yes, your skeleton. You are a so tall man. Try to imagine which kind of skeleton you have inside, you know. Of course, I'm going to pay it now, and I will take it after your death, you know. But our bell ringer was not so convinced, you know, and start to find an excuse, and when we had a very kind excuse, you know, now, you know, me and my skeleton are together since a while, you know, we know each other since a lot, we grow up together. But at last, the insistence of a professor, but more than this, the economical offer, wow, was so huge. And our man, you know, cannot imagine to be able to have such an amount in one time in his life, you know, and start to think, oh, I'm old, it's true, but the professor is pretty old, he's older than me. You know what, I'm going to sign this contract. In a couple of years, the professor will die and no one will remember, you know, this contract, and I will keep my skeleton, you know, and the money too. And strong of this conviction, he decided to sign this contract. At the moment of signing, the professor, half serious, half kidding, told him, you know what, you are a bell ringer. I will put a small bell on the hand of your skeleton, and your skeleton will be the guardian of my collection. And now the contract is done. Our man is not rich, but you know, he has a lot of money. And by the way, he is also a lover of a good wine, and start to invest the capital, you know, in a pub, and then in another, and then in another. In a few days, the money is pretty all there, because you know it's really a lot. It's a huge amount. But our man died because he drank too much, and he died at the very table of a pub. And it's for this reason that his skeleton became part of a collection of an old professor. Today, the skeleton of St. Mark's bell ringer is still preserved in town, and we can admire him inside a glass at the Museum of Natural History along the Grand Canal, the former Fondaco dei Turchi proprio. And he stands there quietly until midnight. But at midnight, we know that he get out from the museum and reach St. Mark's Square. He gets to the St. Mark's bell tower and rings the hugest and the most ancient bell of St. Mark's bell tower, the Marangona. The Marangona was the only bell who survived to the crash of 1902. Probably you don't know, but about a century ago, a little more, the Campanile, the old bell tower, it was pretty ancient. At that time, he has more than 1,000 years, crashed down and was rebuilt in 10 years, where it was and how it was. But the hugest of the bells, the Marangona, was saved. And our man, every night, our skeleton, in this moment, get on the Campanile and rings the bell. He rings the midnight, you know, ring of the bell. Just after did it, he get down and reach Corte Bressana, where he lived during his life. And doing it, walking through the Venetian Calle, He rings the small bell he keeps in one hand, begging for money with the other to the people he meets during his walk. The skeleton of St. Mark's bell tower's bell ringer asks for money to be able to buy himself back.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, let's walk. Getting far from the skeleton and reach another place. It's not so far for real. It's maybe 2 minutes by walk. And this is Calle delle Moschette. Also, the names of the streets in Venice they come from the oral tradition. We have a lot of jobs, lot of also legends, and lot of particular situation too. Calle delle Moschette could be translated like something like the street of the small flies. But this name is not related with insect, to say the truth, because the moschette, especially during the 18th century, were the fake mole, the beauty marks that people, but especially girls, were used to put around their face, especially. And they have a significance. Respect to the place of the face, you would put them. At that time, messenger was not invented, and a poor girl that has the necessity to scream to the whole world, her mood of the day, has having not an iPhone, were used this kind of beauty marks. And if that day was the right day for her, she was used to put in the front, and the beauty mark put on the front was the majestic, the impudent on the nose, the gallant on the throat, and there was also the passionate, and also this was the most terrible and the most dangerous one, close to the lips, was the assassin. So anyway, in the 18th century, walking in Venice, when you met, a young girl with a beauty mark in this position, you have to walk fast if you don't want trouble. Anyway, together with the beauty marks, women and girls has also a huge, terrible weapon in their hands. It was a fan. The fan has a language too. A woman, sorry, could tell or ask a lot by using only a fan without telling a words. The fan could be a kind of shield for not desired sights, or an instrument of invitation. A girl could tell you that there is nothing to do because I'm married, or she could also transmit you a different message. I'm only engaged. For example, close the fan and tap on your, but it was very fast, if you were in a huge room with thousands of people in society, everything has the necessity to be fast, by you and the person you have in front. And so a small fast tap on the left cheek was no, yes, small circle on the hand, I hate you. Oh, and tap with the top of your finger on the close fan was, oh, I need to talk to you, and leave it on the ground in front of the man she has in front was absolutely an invitation, to be reached later. Anyway, and just after, at last came the, come si dice, the emoticon to ruin everything, It was a so beautiful word, and now we are selling, faces. Anyway, let's walk. This seems a church. You will see it and say, oh yes, it's a church. It's the entrance of a high school, but it was a church until the 19th century. It was an important church, Santa Giustina. In the day of Santa Giustina, the Christian, come si dice, fleet won at Lepanto, in 1571. And so it was a good saint for Venice. Anyway, what I want to show you is just the very side of the church, in the middle of the two pillars at the corner. There is a particular still graffiti, but it is painted. I'm going to help you to read it. I found it 4 years ago. You will see, but it's there since centuries, I know, but no one saw it before. Okay, in the middle, in the center, you can probably recognize the hat of a doge. And at the two sides, there are two W, like Viva, hooray. Under the hat, there is a name, is Andrea. And still under now, of course, it's a picture, but when we will get there, you will see that you can read it. There is a family name, is Gritti. So Viva Andrea Gritti. Andrea Gritti was elected as the Doge, and the year of his election was 1523.
Wow.
So in 3 years, less than 3 years, this graffiti is going to have half a millennium of age. And it's a demonstration that not only in America in 2020, but also in Venice 1523, come dire, the fight among red and blue was suffered and very felt, because someone felt the necessity to express their joy for the election of Andrea Gritti. I told you about American elections, but it's not the case. The election of the Doge of Venice was pretty complex. The Doge was elected among all the noblemen of Venice that was older than 35 years. They were a lot. They were kind of maybe 800, 1,000 during the history. So it was not democracy, but a good kind of representation. And everything was happening in this way. For faith, really taking well, in the middle of a Maggior Consiglio room, the hugest room of Palazzo Ducale, was put a huge box full of balls, silver and golden balls, in the same number of the people who could be elected. And then, calling the name of everyone, a ball was taken off by a blinded boy, and showed to everyone. If it was silver, that man was not an elector of a Doge. If it was golden, he was. And all his relatives had to get out from a room. And they took out the same number of balls of people who get out from the room, and so on. until they reached the number of 30. But 30 was the first 30 electors of the Doge.
Wow.
They put 21 silver balls and 9 golden balls. And from the 30, 9 was taken for fate. Those 9 made the name altogether, made the name of 40. From the 40, 12 were selected by using the balls. The 12 made the name of 25. From the 25, 9 were taken. The 9 made the name of 45. And from the, sorry, mi si sta attorcigliando la lingua. And by the 45, 11, were taken until the last very electors of a Doge.
Wow.
It was pretty complex, very fast, and doesn't permit, that people could arrange some bad, come si può dire, Paola, aiutami.
It was truly like a lottery. I mean, like a lottery. There was no way to have any kind of.
It was a mix about lottery and the determination.
Yeah.
The name of the Doge was determined by his electors.
There was no way. There was really no place for corruption.
Yeah. Oh well, when two of at the time young, at this time of the most ancient democracy of our recent history, the American and the French one, just had their respective revolutions, had the necessity to give themselves an electoral system. What they did, they come to Venice, the only place in which they voted since 1,000 years, 1,100 years for the precision, and took some spots from the Venetian electoral system. Ask yourself why you put also a few days ago a ballot in the ballot box. The balls, I told you, in Venetian are called ballotte.
Wow.
So ballot is coming exactly from ballotte, the huge box I told you. It's a literal translation. It's the scatola dei ballotte, ballot box. It's that one. Also in France, they use the ballotage for the election of their president. And also your, to me, Italian strange system you have by using the grand electors is coming from the, as you can clearly see, from the Venetian way of election. It runs for more than 1,000 years. I wish you it runs for more than 1,000 years for America too. And anyway, let's go.
Basically,
okay.
Your point is that everything stems from Venice. The whole modern world we know, even the symbols we have, are all already there.
I am not the right person to speak about it because I would tell you yes every time. But many of the words you still use and you still use today. I will tell you in the last part of our meeting, are coming from Venice.
Yeah.
In the 14th century, Venice created the first law against the job of miners in the middle of the 14th century.
Wow.
The creation of the lazzaretti for the sanity in the middle of the 15th century, and so on. I'm proud of it, of course, but now Venice, I have also to say the truth, is very different from that time. Venetians are pretty different from the Venetian of that time, but they invented something. They were really brave. They try and create something still in use in the world. Anyway, plague. I mentioned the lazzaretti, and this is a beautiful place. I'm showing you in the Sestiere di Castello. It's 5 minutes by walk from the Andrea Gritti graffiti. So we can really walk. If we would in Venice, I would guide you, I would drive you, you know, easily from one place to the other of the places I'm going to show you. Questo è Sottoportego di Cortenova. I sottoporteghi are about 200 in town, and they are that passages under the houses, you know, that help you to go from one side to the other, and not to make a huge turn, you know, but going straight.
Oh.
And among the 200, this is the most particular of all, because it seems, I'm going to show you some more pictures, like a kind of temple, you know, a church. Look, one side and the other. And it is, because, and this is related with the plague of 1630.
Plague. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the plague we are remembering in few days, because November 21 in Venice is the day of the Madonna della Salute, the Virgin of Health. And it's a recurrence pretty felt by Venetian. All the Venetian get there. Also the Venetian who are not Christians, I mean, to light a candle to the Virgin, you know, asking for the most important gift in life, the health. A legend says that in this courtyard lived a woman, Giovanna, that had a kind of vision, a dream that was a kind of vision. The Virgin get to her, telling her not to be scared, her and all the inhabitants of the courtyard, because if they would have faith on her, their life would be saved. Giovanna herself painted an image of a virgin like she appears to her, and put at the entrance of the courtyard. And the legend says that the virus of the plague get that was killing thousands of people, 10,000 of people in town, get to the entrance of the courtyard, found the holy image, and fell down on the ground, and coloring and making this stone colored by red. It was known, the plague was called at the time also like the Red Death. This is so the inhabitants, let me get back, built their Sottoportego like a church, and you can still admire. Also that paintings that you can see from one side and the other these are of course are copies, but the original coming from the 1630 were in that place until the 1980. Try to imagine. It was a miracle that they stand there for so long. Anyway, the Venetians doesn't put their feet on this stone.
Because Alberto, what fell on here? The holy image of the Virgin Mary fell on the street?
No, the plague, the virus of a plague fell down, you know, and made red the stone. Okay. That is, let me get back. But you can see, you know, on the ground. It's in the middle. It's in the middle of that place.
Yeah.
And the Venetians doesn't step on it, because it's not a lucky act, you know. And so this is funny, because, you know, superstition is for free, and you know. You have not to pay, not to step on, or to step not the stone. And so Venetian decided not to step, you know, it's the same price. This is my feet, of course, but just to show you the come si dice, the dimensions of this stone.
Yeah, okay. It's pretty the virus was really big. It's a big virus. It's like COVID-19.
Okay. Let's go, and we are going inside Castello, the Sestiere, the quarter of Castello. reaching another place. Now there are, it's this church, the one, the yellow building you can see on the right side is a church, La Chiesa di Sant'Antonin. Now it's closed for restoration, of course, but here is set one of the most wonderful and I would say funny, but it's not funny, not for the protagonist, stories of a recent past of a Serenissima, or well, of Venice, because the Serenissima was not more existing at that time. The year is 1819, and at that time an elephant get in town. An elephant. This is a painting of Pietro Longhi showing an elephant in the 18th century. I think it's 1772 or something like. And it was, of course, without the possibility to have Netflix and the television, looking at an elephant was something incredible and special. And people pay a fee, of course, a ticket, to enter these places in which these animals, like a zoo, of course, but temporary zoo, where used to stay during especially carnival time. I remember that carnival had the duration of 6 months at the time. Wow. Because yeah, we would be now in the middle of a carnival. It started in October and going on until the Ashes Wednesday, so March, April about. And it was the time, 6 months, in which theater, music were going on a lot, you know, the season, the musical season and so on. And also people were allowed to go around masked, like today, but for different reasons. Yeah. At that time, so in that year, 1819, an elephant was brought to Venice. It was an attraction. A lot of people get to see him. And the last day, it was a night, to say the truth. Everything is set to bring him back, you know, in the mainland. But someone makes something wrong, putting him in a boat. And the elephant, full of frightened and full of rage, kill guardian, you know, and then ran this way. This is the side of a church, you know. You can see the bridge in front over the church. Before getting this place, the elephant break down a well, try to climb a wooden stair, you know, that of course crash under him, and then run full of rage with soldiers, Austrian, because Venice was under Austro-Hungarian Empire at that time. Austrian soldiers shoot to him with very ridiculous, you know, rifles. And so the elephant heated more rage around this way and tried to climb the bridge. The bridge at that time is not made by stone, but by wood. He don't feel himself, you know, so sure of the last stair he tried to climb, crashed down, and elephant has a long memory, and so decided to get back and enter the only door who can, you know, contain him. Now you can see behind the wood, but it's a huge door. It's the door of a church. The elephant entered the church, and he's full of rage, and so he starts to destroy everything, you know, furniture, curtains, everything, you know. But in this moment, he is trapped because they simply close the door of the church, and then they get to the bishop. It's nighttime, and so they really, you know, go to the bishop house. They wake up him and ask the permission, a particular permission, to kill the elephant inside the church. And they obtain this permission. Austrian people, you know, it's a joke, it's an European joke, you know, Deutsch and German, sorry, German and Austrian people, they are very, you know, come si dice, precisi, Paola?
Yeah, very strict, and they follow
Yeah,
the rules.
so they do everything, you know, everything must be well done. And so they didn't enter really the church, but they opened a hole in the side of the church and put a cannon inside. And and they killed the elephant with a cannonball. Sorry, it's I know it's not funny, but you know, it's a funny image to me. Anyway, the elephant, of course, died because a cannonball is more powerful than a rage elephant, and uh, this story will remember and is still remember, you know, along the centuries, of a poor elephant of St. Anthony Church killed by a cannonball inside the church. Today, the skeleton, we love skeletons in Venice. Today, the skeleton of the elephant of St. Antonin is still preserved, but not in Venice, but in Padua, because a nobleman, a Venetian nobleman, who was a professor in Padua, when he heard, and of course the whole world heard about this new at that time, of a possibility to have a real elephant skeleton, buy the corpse, and bring to Padua, and the skeleton of this elephant, of the elephant of the 1819, can be admired in the library of Padua University. Few steps. Okay, to enter this calle is a very narrow calle that end in a beautiful Campo della Bragora square. Let me show you. Okay, this is the other side of the calle. It's pretty narrow, but the name is particular. Is Calle della Morte, so the street of the dead. Oh, it's a very particular name. Venetian legends say that in this narrow street, try to imagine a time in which there were not light on the streets. In this place were killed it's a black legend, the political opponents, you know, brought there and strangled or stabbed, you know. But it's really a legend. We have not evidence of it. But as I told you before, the name, a so particular name, stay there, and at the end gave the name, the official name of this street. I don't know if people who live inside there is happy, you know, to put it on their business card, but it is. Few step again, getting out from Campo della Bragora, and we'll reach another beautiful place close to there. Questa è Saisata del Pignater, e Saisata del Pignater has that small sottoportico you can see in the middle, but on the right side, sottoportico dei preti, of the priests. Now I'm going to show you, yeah, better, but it's very low, you know. I'm 3, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I'm 6 feet tall, and it's like me, you know. I need to do it to enter. So in this place there is a beautiful, it is set another beautiful Venetian legends, because this is one of the, you know, Venice is made by islands, of course, connected by bridges, but of course the town was not born like we know in the same time. Only few of these islands in the beginning were settled, and then during the centuries, all the island, you know, were settled, and it grew up a town. Oh, this is this insula, like we call them, this small island inside the town, is one of the most ancient. And the story I want to tell you about is pretty ancient too. It's is set in a time in which magic and reality are often going to become the same. Now we are strictly connected. And is this the time in which, in this place, lived a young man, Orio. He is a fisherman, and of course he get out on the sea in the night time, especially throw his nets and wait hours, you know. And when the first light of the sun rise up, he pull his nets on the boat and get to the market to sell the fishes he fished that night by night. One night, the net of Orio is pretty heavy. It's really heavy, and of course he is happy. You know, a heavy net means a lot of fishes. But when he is a strong man, but he cannot pull it on board, and at last he really pull with all his strength, and a voice in the middle of the night, in the middle of the sea, get out from the water, you know. Oh, please set me free. I don't want to hurt you, you know, but please let me go, you know. And he is young and strong, but he's frightened, you know. He get sit on the boat, you know, and with the voice like this, you know, say, oh, who you are, you know, are you a witch, you know, because the voice is a voice of a girl. And you know, from the side of the boat, some beautiful fingers, you know, get on the top, and then a beautiful faces and a marvelous smile. She's the most beautiful girl Orio has never seen, you know, and she looks so lovely, you know. And she say, oh no, my friend, I'm not a witch, you know. My name is Melusina. I'm a siren, a mermaid, you know, and a beautiful fish tail, you know, get up from the side of a boat. Well, she's a mermaid, he is a man, but they felt in love, and they stand all night long in the Malamocco seaside, and then decided to meet, you know, night by night. Orio get there, met Melusina, and before the day come, Melusina is a mermaid, so in few minutes she is able to fool the net of a fisherman who can go to the market to sell them. Everything seems to get well, but Melusina told Orio that on Saturday they cannot meet. She doesn't give him some explication. They simply cannot meet. But the third Saturday, Orio decided to go there, you know, thinking, you know, well, I'm going to go. If she will be there, better for me, you know, and if she will not, I will get back home. And for real, Melusina didn't come, and Orio thought, oh well, probably really on Saturday she has something more important to do. She is going to leave while a huge sea serpent get out from some rocks and passing very close to his feet, you know, enter the sea. And Orio, still frightened, start to run on the seaside, and a voice reach him. It's the voice of Melusina. You fool, why you get here on Saturday? Because of a curse. On Saturday, I'm constricted, you know, to assume the shape of a serpent, of a snake. But if you will marry me, I will not only get a pair of legs, I will become, a girl, but also the curse will have no more power on me, and I will be a real girl, a girl of a heart. Orio is absolutely in love. She didn't think 1 second and decided that he will marry that girl. It's a good marriage. It's a marriage of love, of course, and in few years give to the couple the fruits of every marriage, 1, 2, 3 children. Now Orio has a huge family, you know, and he did what he always did in his lifetime: get out on the sea in the nighttime, throw the nets, fish the fishes, and get to the market. Also, this story, like our first one, has a but. And also this time, unfortunately, the but is the illness of Melusina. Melusina felt sick, and in few days, very fastly, passed away. Before died, asked to his husband to be buried in the sea. Sorry, I sneezed. In the same sea, he fished here several years before. Orio is desperate, of course, respect the desire of his wife, and in the following days he can only do the same of his life, you know, so getting out on the sea, throw the net, because now he has 3 children to grow up by himself, alone. He silently thanks an old woman who lives close to him, because when he gets home after the market time, he finds the house well set, clean, you know, the children dressed, well dressed and clean too, and he is convinced that this old lady is going to take care silently of him. Everything go ahead in this way for a few days until the first Saturday. Of that day, Orio get out because he has something to do, but he remember that get up home, and when he entered, he saw a huge snake in the kitchen. He doesn't think 1 second. He took the axe he used to cut the wood, you know, and cut the head of his snake. And he showed it to the neighborhood, you know, look to this snake. I was so lucky because I didn't need to get back home. But if I would not get back, try to imagine what this snake could have done to my children. But from that moment, children are not so clean and dressed when he get back, and also the house is not so clean. And he understand what he did. He forbid to Melusina to get back in the only shape that was permitted to her, the shape of a snake. This is not, it's a beautiful love story, but it's not really, come dire, particularly allegra.
It's not a happy love story.
No, and it has not an happy end. But it lives, like in Venice, happen very often, something on the stones still today. And this is when you enter the sottoportico and turn yourself on the top of the arch of the sottoportico, you can find this. This is a heart made by stone. And in Venice, we know it as the heart of the lovers. It was put there like a memory of a love among Melusina and Orio. And in Venice, we know that touching it, this is, I show you something that is not good for good luck, like the stone of a plague. And this is instead for good luck, because the couple of lovers who touch together this heart made by stone, with a right, of course, disposal, inner disposal, will eternate their love forever. In the same time, for the same reason, sorry, the person who is looking for his twin soul, that touch, that heart with the right inner disposal, will find what he or she is looking for in a year from that moment.
Wow.
Adesso,
I hope people are taking good notes, Alberto.
Okay, but we will go all together to see all these places and other million of places, because we make a short walk tonight, but Venice is full of this sign. I want to jump and if you permit me, you know, to end our meeting in another place in Venice. It's a huge jump. It's on the other side of a town, and it's the ghetto.
Okay.
As you probably know, the ghetto of Venice we mentioned in the beginning of our incontro tonight is the first ghetto of a history. Ghetto is a Venetian name, so the word ghetto is coming from Venetians. And it's a very simple name, as I'm going to explain you. This is Campo del Ghetto Novo. Campo del Ghetto Novo is the most ancient place in which Jewish were allowed to stay from the Senato of Venice in 1516. About 60 years later, the Ghetto Vecchio, so this is the new one, but was the first, and the old one was the second. This sound weird and strange at your ears, but it is related to the name of a place, because the word ghetto, that in a right way means sufferance, enclave, means exclusion. It's absolutely innocent, because it borns before the existence of the ghetto itself. In that place, until the end of the 14th century, there were some foundries for cannon, for the ships of the Republic, that was set inside the arsenale. But the name, as we tested tonight, the names are going to stay in places in Venice for so long. The name of that place, the getto, getto is to throw. When you throw the liquid metal, you know, to make cannon, the word getto stay there. And when the Venetians allowed Jewish people to stay in the heart of a town, they decided to put them in the island of the ghetto, so where the foundries were. Because the most recent foundries were in this island, this was the Ghetto Novo, but is the most ancient place of presence of Jewish in Venice. So the Jewish stay here in the Ghetto Novo, that is older than the old ghetto. It's this is very Venetian, and because the first Jewish who came in Venice to stay came from, they were Ashkenazi, they were from Northern Europe. They had a very hard use of a G. And so the word ghetto became ghetto, because they cannot pronunciate it in an appropriate way. And so the word ghetto, born like in a very innocent way, you know, and born before the ghetto itself, and from Venice became alas, important word for the history of man. Anyway, Venetians allowed the Jewish to build their synagogue. Synagogue or synagogue?
Synagogue.
Synagogues.
Synagogue.
But they ask them to do it in a discreet way. We can, in the Ghetto Novo, of course, there are the most ancient synagogues of Venice. Two others are in the old ghetto. We can recognize them between the houses. They are built in the middle of the houses. One is the one standing at the right side, you know, in that kind of pink, pink colored, and another one is behind a tree. But here they are, and we can recognize them because of 5 windows. like the 5 books of the Old Testament. This is the other one. Questa è la tedesca e questa è l'italiana. We have a third, always built in the upper side of the houses. They are really in the connecting with the houses. And so because, come si dice, perché, oh, I cannot tell in Italian. I'm not thinking English.
Say it in Italian.
Symbolically, because symbolically, you know, not human feet had to step on it, and so they are always
higher up.
Yeah, the last floor.
Okay.
There is a third one. Is that one beautiful on wooden with a small cupola?
Yes.
It's la scuola. We used to call them school too, not synagogues, but school, le scuole. And this is la canton. Canton means the school of a corner in Venetian. And, oh, okay, too fast. And the ghetto of Venice, that it was born because Jewish people were very useful for the Serenissima. It was not, you know, a place of holidays, of course, but it was also in the same time not a place in which Jewish people were persecuted or tortured. They were closed during the night, but they were allowed to go everywhere they want during the day. So half and half, but we are always in the 16th century. Venetians need the money of Jewish people, and so Jewish people cannot have properties, for example, and it's for this reason that the houses of the ghetto are the taller of the whole town, because they had the permission to build several floors, you know, yeah, on their own houses, not only because of property, but because they pay a rental. And of course they help the Republic but it was something mutual, you know. Jewish help the Serenissima at last protect the Jewish. Not exactly also in 1945, but in a kind of something happened of good also in that time. Anyway, just a few years after the constitution of the ghetto, a first huge plague, the 1571, came. And in Venice, everyone died. Young, old, rich, poor, Jewish, Christian, you know. As we know so well today, you know, viruses are so democratic and kill everyone. But from a certain moment, something very dramatic happens in the ghetto, because only the children are going to die because of the plague. In the ghetto, there is a rabbi, a very respectable rabbi, Jacob Sterchel. And Rabbi Sterchel is trying to find a reason why only the children are going to die into the ghetto. But all the books he read in his whole life are not going any answer to him. And he prayed and studied, he read and prayed, you know. And one night he has a dream, a kind of vision, because Elijah the prophet appears to him, telling him, "You are a good man. It's a lot I'm looking at you, you know, and I appreciate, you know, the will you are investing on this research. Do you want to know? Because in the ghetto, only your children are going to die. Follow me." And following the prophet in the wings of this dream, the couple reach the ancient cemetery, Jewish cemetery of Lido. This is, you know, I think every one of you has in mind the cemetery of Prague. the ancient Jewish cemetery of Prague, beautiful, you know. Well, the Venice one is a century older. It was set in 1389. It's also a demonstration that the presence of Jewish people in town is more ancient than the year of the constitution of the ghetto. And when you have a place in which you can bury your dead, is a place you are allowed to stay. And anyway, the rabbi and the prophet reach the cemetery, and in few instants, the spirits of the children's getting out from the burial and start to play very happily, like every children, you know, it's going to do in his life. And so they run all around, you know, the tombs. They play. They simply play. Rabbi Sterchel opened his eyes, and it's morning time. It's on his bed, and for the whole day, try to understand what this vision means. And when the nighttime come, he called one of his follower and asked him. He's a young man, and telling you, do you wanna help me to understand why in the ghetto only the children are dying, you know? And the follower say, oh, of course, Rabbi, tell me what I have to do. And Rabbi Sterchel told him, oh, you have to go to the cemetery tonight. And the follower say, oh, no, I'm joking. The follower, of course, is not so happy, but following the words of Rabbi Sterchel, reach the cemetery, and like the rabbi told him, hide himself behind one marble tomb, you know, and wait, because Rabbi Sterchel told him that in the nighttime the spirits of the children will rise up from the tombs, and he should be so brave to take fastly the tachrechim, so the, come si dice il sudario, il lenzuolo funerario.
The funerary sheet. The funerary sheet, yeah.
Shroud, forse. Shroud.
Shroud, yes.
So to take off the shroud to one of the children and bring to him. And for real, in the middle of the night, you know, the spirits of the children rise up from the sepulchres and start to play. And this man that is absolutely frightened, but when one of these children, you know, passed very close to him, took the tachrechim, you know, and ran fastly in the boat, and then rolled and reached the ghetto and bring, you know, this shroud to the rabbi, that thanks him, you know, and let him go. And then he folded this shroud and put on the table in his studio, and wait. And he wait all night long. He waits until, you know, the first light is scratching darkness to the night. And that is the moment in which Rabbi Sterchel hear a tap on the window. And outside there is the spirit of the children that's telling him, Rabbi, give me back my shroud, because to get back, you know, on my tomb, I need my tachrechim, and without it, I cannot do it. You know, it's going to rise up the sun. It's not good to me, you know, to stay outside. So bring me back my tachrechim, and I will pretend not to have seen nothing. But Rabbi Sterchel told him, oh no, I will not give back your shroud until you will tell me why only you children are going to die for plague in the ghetto. And the children say, who you are that you want to know the sketches of God, you know? Bring me back my tachrechim, you know? But the rabbi is really absolutely strong in his position. And the children So the sun is going to rise. The Tahrim is there. And so decided to tell him the truth. And it's a terrible truth. And the truth is that a young couple of a ghetto killed their babies, you know, and buried inside the house, in a place inside the house, pretending he died for plague. And so a curse came to the Jewish people of the ghetto. Rabbi Stergel get back immediately the Tahrim, and of course he's sconvolto. Paola.
He's completely shocked and
yeah,
shocked.
But anyway, in the same day, he made a convocation of a community, and in front of a whole assembly, constrict the couple to confess their crime. Given the two parents to the justice, made the plague of the children end. And the legends in Venice says that from that moment, not any children died for plague until the end of that plague for the following year. The legend says more than this, because says that from that moment, no more Jewish people died for plague until the end of that plague.
Alberto,
I don't know you, but I feel tired, like I would walk for real.
Yeah, you know, this was a long walk. You gave us so much of your time, Alberto. I think, you know, I see that most of our listeners are still with us, even though, you know, it's already 8:30 here in Italy. But I think people are beginning your day with you. You know, I wanted to maybe just end asking you, I think there's some questions and we will get to them, but
yeah.
Alberto, what can we learn from Venetian history and, you know, those so many plagues that happened in Venice? How many? 59?
69.
69. What can the world learn? What can we learn from Venice? What can help us today?
The first lesson we can teach is that we can survive. We can make a good defense of ourselves. I told you before that the word, the Lazzaretti, and the word Lazzaretto, born in Venice, invented by isolation. You probably use, together with the at today, also a word, quarantine. Many of us are living a quarantine. Quarantine is a Venetian word. In Italian, it sounds quarantena.
Yeah.
A quarantena means 40 days in Venetian language, because in Italian would be quarantina. So you all of you are using another Venetian word, that's quarantine. Venice get over and over and over several times, 69 times during its history. And every time stronger and more beautiful, I would add. And it will be also this time for the whole world. We can get over this, protecting ourselves, protecting the person we are close to, the person we loved. And all together, I'm convinced we will get over stronger and in a more beautiful dimension.
Yes. You know, on the 21st, when you go to Salute, you know, light a candle for all of us. I think, you know, we need a protection. I think, you know, in Italy, in the US. Let me just see. I have few people who are writing questions. Jill Russell said, were the Jews segregated within the ghetto by country of origin, or were they all born in Italy Jews?
No, they came from abroad, from different nations. And I told you about the fondaci before, and all the synagogues of the ghetto are still today, the names of the nations those Jewish come from. And so we have the Italian synagogue, the German synagogue, the Spanish synagogue, and the Levantine synagogue.
Yeah.
So,
And I think this was the first time in history where actually all of these different nations came together and they had their own synagogues because they were so different, right? And they were not really always on friendly terms either.
Also, among them, you know, they really come from different nations. They have different languages, but they get there all together. They were allowed to live all together.
Yeah.
They met Venetians because the ghetto in few years became a real cultural center, you know.
Yeah.
We had a very important rabbi, Leon Modena, who was the first. Venice during the 16th century, in Venice during the 16th century, were printed more than the half of all the books printed in those century in the whole Europe. Not because Venetians were so were lovers of reading of or books, but because it was a business. But this means that the first, the first, for example, Torah is printed in Venice. The first Quran is printed in Venice. Yeah. When you took a Torah, you know, the Torah, it was a roll of paper. So decided to make it became a book. It was an important decision made by rabbis. And so they disputed it a lot. But today, when you in Australia or in Arizona took on your hand a Torah, they had the same number of pages. They are not different. So page 24 is the same. Page 78 is the same. And it's the same pagination given by Venetian in 1524.
Yeah.
And but why? Okay, yes, Leon Modena. Leon Modena was the first Jewish who wrote about Jewish, come si dice riti, Paola? Scusami.
The practices, the religious practices.
Yeah. Of Jewish people to Christian. So writing a book in that show the word which are the Jewish use, you know, going over the stupid and black legends of sacrifice and everything, you know, that until that moment get all around Europe. He wrote a book simply, and he said, my dears, this is what we are going, you know, to celebrate. And this is the way we are acting during this celebration. So it's a very important book that born in Venice. And this was really a smart person. We had a poetress, Sara Copio Sullam, that in the beginning of the 17th century had in his house, all people who love literature and poetry were allowed to stay, also Venetians, you know. And she was blonde with blue eyes, you know. She was so beautiful, you know. Chronicle of that time speak about her of a woman of absolutely, you know, beauty. She was so handsome, and she was a poetess.
You know, Alberto, I think we can probably stay all night. There's so much, of course, you have touched on so many beautiful legends, and I get people who are saying, thank you. Do you give personal tours if we come to Venice? And then Diana is asking what is the name of his book? I guess, you know, Alberto, I will send a list of all the books in English that people can order, correct?
They are mysteries of the legends of the secrets of the Grand Canal you showed before.
Yeah.
They are the most recent, because I have two more but a lot of these stories I rewrote in these two that are Venetian legends and ghost stories and Venezia Enigma. Both, all of the four are translated into English. But if I have to suggest, the most recent are The Secrets of the Grand Canal and Mysteries of Venice.
Yes, and you know, I have The Secrets of the Grand Canal, which was the only one I was able to find in a bookstore in Venice at the time when I was there, but this is actually quite fascinating. Alberto, I wanted to just mention, you know, Save Venice, the organization, you know, probably,
Yeah.
they're now restoring the ghetto in Venice. And they were also involved in that Sottoportego you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Corte Nova.
Corte Nova. Yeah. The restoration ended, I think, 1 year and a half ago.
Yes.
It was a good restoration. For example, you can admire now the copies of the paintings that they were removed during the 80s, preserved inside the closest church of San Francesco della Vigna. But now those copies are admirable, you know, in the place they were painted for. And this is thanks to Save Venice.
Yes, actually, no, Georgia is asking when were they discovered? They were always there, the paintings, correct?
No, can you repeat, please?
The paintings in the Sottoportego, they were always there.
Yeah.
They were always there.
They were very, come si dice, rovinati.
They were quite damaged, of course, because they're exposed to the elements.
They're black, and so, and also this is probably the reason they were not stolen during the 20th century. But now they are pretty restored thanks to the Save Venice. And 4 copies of those paintings are now in the Sottoportego, and the restored paintings are inside the church, admirable in the church of San Francesco della Vigna.
Yes. Alberto, this was really, truly fascinating. I think everyone now wants to leave their chairs, leave their living rooms and travel to Venice, which I hope we will be able to do soon. If you have any other questions for Alberto, unmute yourself. And if you want to ask anything, please feel free to do. And Alberto, I think you're going to need a glass of wine after this.
The way Alberto was talking, it sounded like he does do walking tours. Is that right?
Well, he does. I don't think he does really the tours, but he talks stories, correct?
You know, I'm not. I'm a journalist and a writer. You know, I'm not a tour guide. But for example, I call it walking lecture.
Okay.
I normally
You should ask
twice a year, twice or 3 times a year for the university, for example, or for academies and so on, but not regularly. Absolutely not.
Yeah. But Alberto, we will find a way to get to you in Venice when the time is right. And maybe we can visit, you know, a place or two with you. I think, thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying over all this time. And I hope your day will now continue well in the US, and of course, everyone in the Europe, you know, this is already, you know, time for bed. So it was really a pleasure to have you, Alberto. I'm so glad that, thank you for your time.
It was my pleasure. I wait all of you in Venice.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon, really.
And when you go to Salute Church, Alberto, please, you know, light the candle in all of us. In name of all of us.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you.
All the lovely notes. I will share all the chat with you, Alberto.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ciao, Paola.
Grazie, buonanotte. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, grazie Alberto. It was really so much fun. Grazie. Come sempre sei meraviglioso.
Grazie a voi davvero. Una buona serata.
Ok.
Ciao.
Anche a te.
A presto.
A presto.
Ciao.